Well, hello, 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 and welcome to ZBrush Live. And here we go. I just wanted to confirm in the chat if you'd let me know if you can hear me and see my screen okay. We can get going. In the meantime, this is Kermaco Mech Design on ZBrush Live, and today we're starting a new project. So, oops, I should hang on a second to do something real quick. Sorry about that. Yep. Let's not make it automatic. Okay. Let's see if this works now. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. Okay, yeah, if you guys can just let me, okay, so Andre, thank you. You're saying it's a go. So that means you can hear me okay. You can see my ZBrush screen. We're all good. And audio seems to be okay. Internet speed seems to be fine. So here we go. All right. So what I was thinking of doing is since May 4th is coming up, I thought I would be doing a Star Wars thing, and I've always wanted to do a ATST. So one of these guys. Let me just bring up my PureF board here. And yeah, so one of these guys, it is a mech. After all, it's a scout mech. And there's a really beautiful concept art of it by somebody. I think there's a name up here, but I don't know if that's the person who did it. And they kind of changed the design a little bit for the sequels, the three sequels, and it just seems to me like a lot of these designs are evolving. I mean, the original is always a beautiful design. I've built a plastic model of it, and I've also yeah, my kids also had a Lego version of it that's kind of still here somewhere. So anyway, I thought it would be a good one to do. So I gathered up some orthos on it. I'm probably going to be changing it up a little bit from its original design, but interestingly enough, these kind of thin legs that are more thin and on from the front, so they have a very low profile from the front, but from the side they're a little bit thicker. It's an interesting design. It probably was based on the AT-AT, which is this one, which was inspired by a Sid Mead design, which was not for Star Wars, but whoever did the concept was very, let's say, inspired by it. So, all right, let's go. Let's go then. Looks like YouTube is a go. Anybody on Twitch can kind of chime in. Let me know if you can hear me okay. So one of the things I'm going to do here is a while back I wrote an article for Imagine FX magazine, and in it I had a IMM brush. I made an IMM brush which I gave away. So you can probably still find this if you go to Imagine FX magazine. And I don't know what the date is. If you really want me to send it to you, you can send me an email and I'll send it your way. But it's just basically some very, very simplistic mechs done with ZModeler. Oh, and I should mention that if you do want to contact me, the best way to do it is go to my page here and click on contact down below. So my website is Kermaco, KERMACO.com. And if you scroll to the bottom, there's a contact form. Or another way also is if you go to my Instagram, right? So this is my Instagram, and what you can do is click on the link tree here, and I believe there is I guess there is no email. I should add an email in here. All right, so basically, or you can contact me on LinkedIn or, many of the ways. I'm not that hard to get a hold of. And hopefully I can get back to you in a timely manner. All right, so what I want to do here is instead of plopping these down, I'm actually going to get all these IMM brushes as tools. And I think there is a way to do that. If I can remember, I think it's create. These are the way to create them. Edit brush. I think there might be even a plugin to do it. But there definitely is a way to do it. and it's called IMM Extractor. There it is. Okay, so IMM Extractor is a plugin. You can just download it. It's free, a Z plugin, and put in your Z plugins folder. And then so basically what that does is it has like something like this, where you want to get all these as subtools. So we'll just go ahead and do that. I'm brush to subtools, and boom, 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 boom. There they are. And together they look like a big mess like this. But if I expose this like so, you can see that it's a bunch of different shapes of mechs. And, these are a good place to start out from. So I'm just going to kind of keep them around. There are a few here that I know will not really fit the bill. So I'm going to go ahead and select those and delete them. So I don't need that one. This one's got some interesting. It's so funny. Every one of these that I look at, I see some possibility, and this one definitely not. This one definitely not. Although the top part I might be able to use, so let's keep that there. This one no. This one no. So I'm just basically getting rid of the ones that I know are completely not of the shape. This one is definitely no, but I'm going to keep it around because I could maybe use it as a part or something. This one, definitely a, maybe I can use this as a cockpit. All right, let's see what else there is. It's not a quadruped, so this one's a go. So let's delete that one. And what about this one? Could be, definitely not this one. And this one was the one that we used for the article in the magazine, which was basically me modeling it and creating a scene. And then a fellow teacher of mine actually took it and created a scene with it. All right, so I think we're kind of narrowing it down to just these few. And so what I can do here is I can collapse and re-expand these to get kind of more of a consolidated view. Here we are, and I think that's a good number to start with. All right, Bad Cat, how's it going? All right, so I guess I have two people from YouTube. I don't have anybody from Twitch. I want to make sure that Twitch, you can hear me okay. If you please can chime in, that would be awesome. All right, so let's kind of start removing parts that we don't want. So it's definitely not a quadruped. And this is, let's start with this one. And I'm just going to solo it out, and let's just bring it back to the center of the world. I'm going to pop the floor up. And I don't really need this brush anymore, so I'm just going to go back to the regular good old move brush. Actually, then we go to Z Modeler, oh, that's right. And let's take a look at the wireframe on this. So I definitely don't need these back legs. So what I'm going to do is let's turn symmetry on and get rid of unsymmetrical operation. Heck. Right, let me just make sure. All right, so yeah, I didn't do this. Let's put them back in the center, like so, and solo it out. Now it should work. Yep. And let's get rid of this guy over here. So I'm going to see what the best way to get rid of these is going to be. Maybe push this in all the way through. Nope, no dice. How about this way? With ZModeler, sometimes you just have to go about something in a different way. And it helps when you turn dynamic subdiv on, just because it kind of shows you where the connections are. So this should be easy to disconnect. I don't know why it's giving me such a hard time. Here we go. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3. Oh, this one's not going to disconnect without the bottom one. So let's keep doing these ones. I definitely thought this would be an easier process. Okay, it might be easier just to just try doing it from the bottom. So here I'm just basically erasing geometry. Here we go, just getting rid of these pieces. So just like you can build in ZModeler, you can also take away. So I'm just kind of reducing. I don't really need the 4 legs. I just need 2. So I'm just hoping, and I'm hoping to use this piece. So that's why I am actually putting in the time. All right, so now I think I should be able to get rid of this one. I think it happened there. There we go. This one as well. Almost there. And these ones I could just maybe squeeze in. Nope. So I'm just wondering what the best way to get rid of these is going to be. Maybe this way. It kind of did what I wanted for a minute there. And how about this one? And this one is going to be a little bit tougher, but not too tough. Just grab that top polygon, push it down. I don't know why these are still there, but let's see what this looks like. Um, all right, I think this is going to give me a hard time, so I'm just going to brute force remove them. And something like that. And delete hidden. It kind of leaves a hole in here. I don't know why, but easy enough to fix, I think. Let's see now. So this goes to there, this goes to there, this goes, okay, that's probably why it's happening. So I'll just use good old close holes and then figure it out later. I can always redo this as well. So where are you? Keep groups, nope, close holes, where are you? No, got the wrong menu up, that's why. Okay, so it did kind of close this area, but it introduced some triangles, which I didn't want. What I can do is I see 2 edges I can delete, but I don't know if I can do, I should be able to do it. So I'm just gonna do insert delete edge and delete that edge. Nope, this one, there we go, and this one. All right, we still have some triangles. Oops. I think maybe let's try spinning this edge. This is a risky thing to do, by the way. Here we go. That did exactly what I wanted it to do. And now I'm just going to fuse these 2 points together. Stitch this one and this one. And yep, here it is. Okay, so now that kind of gives me this shape over here, which I kind of like. Not very ATSD-like, but it should work. And also, I'm not going to use these legs over here, so I'm going to get rid of them. Like so. And like so. All right. Speaking of Star Wars, I don't know, I'm not going to spoil it, but the last episode of Mandalorian was really interesting. And it's kind of, you know, they announced 3 new movies, which is going to be interesting as well. Maybe I'll work on one of them. I don't know. Who knows? All right, so there's this shape that I like. And let's put the gizmo on it and center it without symmetry. All right, so that's an interesting shape. Let's move on to some others. I should get my pilot in here as well for size, but I don't need to do that just yet. I think this one can go. I don't think I'm going to use that one. Anything interesting in here I can use? No, I'm going to get rid of this one as well. I don't use that one. Kind of like the top of this one, so I'm going to keep that. Let's see, let's look at this one. No. So this kind of thing that I did is helpful because I kind of like the legs of this one, but I can easily recreate them. So I'm going to get rid of it. And this one, no. And then I like this radar kind of thing on top of this one, but I don't like the bottom parts of it. So let me see if I can just salvage that part out of this. And let's do the bit where we bring them all together. I guess you have to be looking at them to do that. All right. And I think I can do this pretty easily. It looks like it's already in 2 pieces. Great. So I'll just do a delete island here. And, oh, there's a bunch of pieces on it. These other pieces I can kind of maybe use myself. And let's look at it again. All right, so this I said I could use maybe as the cockpit for it. This will be radar on top. I don't know what I need from this. Let's take a look. This could be the base. All right, so let's start combining some of these together. So I'm going to bring these together again, like so. And then I'm going to hide a few of these that I'm just not going to use just yet. And then let's start kind of putting things together. All right, so I've got perspective on. I'm going to turn that off, go to orthographic, and start giving this some girth. Kind of want to add some edge loops here. And let's just do insert multiple edge loops and change to 1. So I'm just adding these edge loops in the center. Now that's destroying my polygroups, and let's see if there's a way. I think there was a, if you hold Alt down, was it? No. Shift. I think maybe if you mask it, there's a way you can do this so it doesn't get rid of your existing polygroups. I guess this isn't it. All right. I forget what it is, but it's okay. I might not need those polygroups just yet. And if I can always add them later. And then I'm just going to mask this part. Activate symmetry and pull these out. And I'm just trying to kind of reach some sort of shape. That is reminiscent of, let me bring my reference over here. Diego, hello. Did I like any of the new Star Wars movies? I don't know. There's stuff to like about them. There's stuff not to like about them. I don't, you know, I didn't hate them, but I didn't love them either. And Diego, you're saying you've never used ZBrush for hard surface. Well, I use ZBrush for hard surface, and I get things like this. So cars, mechs, all sorts of stuff. So ZBrush is very viable to be used for hard surface, and you can do some really cool stuff with it. All right. And I am going to be doing kit bashing, but not just yet. That comes a little bit later, so I'm just kind of getting the overall shape down to something kind of more or less within the lines of what an ATST would look like. Of course, I'm making my own version of it, but there's this one subtool that I don't want, but it's there. Oh, it's this one. Okay, I don't want that one. All right, so I'm just kind of trying to get a general kind of shape to it. Again, this is not going to be the exact thing because you can even see in the old version here. This was the one in the actual movie. I think Empire Strikes Back is where this made its first appearance. And then in the new 3, they changed it to be a little bit more like this. And in the previous ones, they kind of had something similar, which was this. However, this is a 2-seater, and so we're probably going to be doing more something along the lines of a 2-seater as well. All right, now I'm just going to bring this over. Yeah, not too many artists use ZBrush for hard surface, but some do, and for hard surface, it's great. I don't know why people don't. Just because people kind of get a preconceived notion, oh, ZBrush, that's sculpting, that's organic. I had teachers that taught with me that kind of would say that too, because, you know, that's kind of the world they are in. And not too many people in production use ZBrush for this kind of stuff. Some do, but it's kind of an tapped market. But there are some really amazing hard surface ZBrush artists. Furio Tedeschi is one of them. And Vitaly Bulgarov uses ZBrush for hard surface, although nowadays he mostly uses CAD programs, which I also do sometimes as well. So here I'm just kind of completely destroying this back part, which I didn't really want to do. So I'm just going to get to a point where, okay, let's keep that. Actually, let's keep both. And I'm going to stitch this top part. So again, this is very kind of rudimentary geometry. Again, I'm starting very low res and just kind of getting the overall shape. And then once I have that, the rest is easy. And I'm going to try to do this by May 4th. So by Lisp Star Wars Day, as I refer to May the 4th. All right, let's see what I can do here. So now I'm going to try and use Clip Curve to maybe refine the shape a bit. So I'm looking at the thing here, and I've got this pointing forward, which in theirs it's not. It's pointing the other direction. So let's see what happens if I turn symmetry off and turn this thing around. Yeah, that looks much better. I also want to lower this part down. And let's put our gizmo here. Maybe get something like this. Another thing, another prominent feature of it is that like this front part kind of drops down. So let's see if I can use that over here. That's good. The only difference is that now this bottom part is kind of tapered the other direction. So we need to, oops. Do I not have symmetry on? I don't. And again, don't mind the size of the legs. I'm actually just for visual kind of pleasure. Let me just make these legs longer. That looks horrible. There and there and there. You know what's always consistent in all of my streams? And I'll probably get some of these questions today. I always get somebody saying, "Oh, I never knew ZBrush could be used for a hard surface." Like I always get that. And and another one is, what's the best way to learn ZBrush so I could be really good? Every time there's somebody who wants to know these things. All right, so there's kind of a very rough mock-up of that, but let's go back to this part over here, which, by the way, looks nothing like ATST at this point, but if we're patient, it will show itself. All right, so let's go back to ZModeler here, and let's insert an edge loop the other direction, maybe over here. Oops. That, and again, I'm just looking for a silhouette shape. That's looking good. Now the other thing is this one points downwards, so let's get that. That's looking okay. Get a little bit of refinement here. And we're going to have that kind of part cut out in the center, so I'll kind of create the room for that. And let's Q mesh these in. Go any further that way, but let's smooth this out. And I'm just going to go just to this part for now. Let's see if I can get this to propagate through. Yep. There we go. Insert an edge loop here to reinforce that. One here, one here. It's getting better. One more, one more. Now I want this to be straight in the front, so I'm just going to use my clip brush to just kind of slap it into more of a straight surface. And I'm going to just use the relax here to just relax it and then do it again, just so I get more kind of straight lines going this way. All right, that's good. All right, let's see proportionally. I think this could be a little bit longer like that. All right, let's see what we can do with this back part here. And it's very possible that I could have started this from scratch. I didn't have to use an existing part. But sometimes when I do that, it gives me new ideas and kind of helps. All right, so what's going on with this? I've got these kind of really close to each other. Right. All right, 3DR, 3D digital render. All right, cool name. Why now for a Mech people call it hard surface when hard surface was modeling without using subdivision surfaces such as dynamic subdivision? Um, I don't know. I don't understand your question. I'm sorry. Could you maybe repeat it in a different way? And I'm just going to create one polygroup here because the polygroups really aren't making any sense. And just relax these a little bit. Of course, I can always crease these edges to get kind of a sharper edge. But right now, I'm just going to keep it. I'm going to try and reinforce the edges with edge loops just to kind of get the general shape that I want. Okay, so this is kind of looking a little bit hunchbacky over here, so let's see what I can do to lift it up. Let's do one of these guys over here. So I still need to fix these points in the back. You can always use a lattice to do this as well. We forget there's a really cool lattice capability. That's looking good. Maybe something like that. Kind of like this little divot over here, so I kind of need to make the back of it look this way. So this would be kind of a cool place to put the hatch, and then maybe I could have some guns or something on top. All right, and then over here, I don't know if I want this kind of thing happening, so I'm going to mask this part and this part. This part's becoming too long, so let's make it shorter, see if this is working. So far, so good. Of course, I could do this in Blender or in Maya or in one of my other 3D modeling software, but I enjoy creating this way because it kind of gives me more possibilities to play and get a better idea of the type of thing I'm making. All right, let me see if I can get rid of some loops. So it's just basically inserting edge loops, deleting edge loops. That one wasn't a good one to delete. How about this one? Oops. No. This one? No. All right, well, looks like we're locked into these loops for now. I'm going to also change the polygroups again, just to get one single polygroup. At this point, I don't really care about the polygroups. I'm just looking to get some sort of a shape for that top part that I think will be interesting. And this is something that I do when I teach, is I try to teach the students to get the primary shapes working first before they jump into details. And of course, they don't at the beginning, but I think over time it'll settle in that that's the way to work. Some of them do. All right, so this is looking good. Now I'm going to use polygrouping to do a little bit of stuff that might be secondary. That was interesting, getting rid of that. No, I still need it. Right, so add these and QMesh them out. QMesh polygroup all. Nope, bad idea. All Right, trying to establish some planes here. Maybe a little bit longer. So again, I'm just playing with proportions, playing with different ways of making this look like something that would work in that world. All right, the way that they've got it is they've got a straight line going this way. So I'm just going to try and see if I can mimic that. Uh, it's not bad. This curve in the back isn't working for me, so I'm going to see if I can fix it by inserting a edge loop, a single edge loop, and kind of closer to this one to get a little bit of a harder edge. I can see my model's kind of starting to, edge loops are starting to go all over the place. So I've got way too much geometry. So what I'm going to do at this point, when I reach this, I'm going to remake this with less geometry. So what I'm going to do is just duplicate it. And the first thing I'll do here is I'll see if I can just do a very, let's see what ZBrush will give me. So we'll go to half. It's still kind of maintaining that shape. Let's do one more. At some point it's going to stop and this is it. Let's do the retries. I'm going to turn adaptive off. Let's see if that gives me less. That did give me less. It got rid of the shape. So I'm just going to go back to where I was. And I'm just not going to use ZBrush. I'm actually just going to remake this. So I'm going to go to subtools here and hide every other one. And this one I'm just going to delete. I don't need it. And I'm going to append a cube. I'll just use, well, one way of doing it is, did I have it? I did have a cube, but I deleted it. Okay, no worries. Let's go to brushes and use my brush. And let's insert one of these guys and choose a 2x2 cube for it. Right, and let's unify that. Like so. All right, so I just want these two to be visible. So I'm going to turn solo off. And I'm just going to use this as a way to get this shape with the least amount of edge loops this time. So I'm going to need one over here. And I think I'm going to see if I can get it done in that. Maybe one more over here, like so. And I'm going to Q-mesh a single poly, get rid of these. Let's turn symmetry on. I don't need those ones. And then I can just move these points into place. I'm using Paul's technique here to select a point instead of selecting and inverting. I'm doing the select and invert this, and it just basically has that point selected. And I'm just going to move this to here. Same thing with, oops, this. And move it, oops, still masked. Move this over to here. I'm just going to go over a little bit just because I'm going to use that technique with the clip brush to get these two lines. So I'm just going to go out again. Same here, out again. Oops. And just do one of these guys over here just to get that angle. Oh, helps if it's not masked. Let's do this one more time. Like so. All right, and then I like that kind of edge over there, and I think I need to make this a little bit kind of closer to that. I'll add those other edge loops in a minute, and then last but not least, these 2 points need to move as well this way. Right, so now I'm getting kind of more of a shape like I want. Again, I could have done this in the beginning, but what I was doing was kind of helping me get somehow to this shape right here. And then let's get the groove on the inside. Okay, so this is going to be bigger on the top and smaller on the top bottom. And for that, I am going to use the lattice. So do that and do a deformer. Soft, doesn't matter at this point. There's 2 little points. And what I want to do here is just move this over this way and do this to it. Now that's going to really mess up my middle line over here, but that's okay. I could actually not mess it up like this. And just get that kind of angle to be like that. That's good. And yeah, getting there. Let's do this cut in. So now I basically have that same exact shape that I did before, but with minimal polygons. And I always like to work in as least amount of polygons as possible. So that's where we have that. And I'm going to drop another edge loop this way. Maybe closer down here like that. Fantastic. All right, and then let's just Q mesh these through. Up, maybe. Or, right, I don't know what's happening, but I know how to fix it. There we go. I should be able to just go right through. Nope. I don't know why it wants to keep that bottom part. Here we go. Yep, that works. Ooh, that was nice. Happy accident there. Let's see. Yeah. That's, no, let's just keep this for now. Okay, so now I've got this shape, and this is what it looks like. And I probably am losing some people right now because this is not exciting to watch. And that's why a lot of artists have difficulties because they don't go through this stage and spend the right amount of time getting things to look right. So, you know, they want to be detailing and painting and adding guns and divots and what's not, and whatnot. So I just want to make sure that I do my due diligence so I get what I need out of this shape, right? So I'm just kind of adding some edge loops here just to get the shape to hold, and that is looking perfect. All right, so I've got the top part. I think this is kind of what I'm agreeing to have be the top part. I want this to be a little bit tighter. I don't like it being kind of like this. And I also want to lift this back part up a bit. So let's see if I can do that. All right, yep, that's working. Okay, so I think I've got the top part pretty much fleshed out. I think I need to start thinking about how the legs and everything will work. So I had some kind of really kind of crappy legs over here, but let's see. Do I want to spend the time with these, or do I want to create something from scratch? I think I'm going to create something from scratch. So I'm going to delete this one. go in here and append one of these guys, use my brush here again to bring in one of these cubes. And by the way, this brush is available for free on my Gumroad. I've got two versions of it. I should mention that there's a free and a paid for version. So if you go to my Instagram over here and you go to my link tree and click on my Gumroad, that brings you to this page, which you can see that there is a version of this that's free, of this brush, and there's also a paid for version that has some extra parts. So if you want the paid version, this one has 17, the graphics are old, and this one has 36 parts in it. And they're basically just primitives that have polygroups added to them, and you can just bring them in like I'm doing over here. All right, so that's kind of, I don't even know if I need a 2. I need maybe just a 1. Bring this down. So basically the way this thing works is like there is a cylinder, and let's add that to append one of these guys, and let's choose a cylinder here. Again, let's just use a really simple one. So there's a really simple cylinder that kind of goes in over here, like so. And then there is this part that is attached to it. It swivels on this part. So I think the cylinder should be more straight if it's going to swivel. There we go. And maybe a little bit bigger. I don't know why this other part is not there. There it is. So let's make this as big as we can. So there it is. That's what it swivels on, like that. And then there's this part that comes down. And again, I'm looking at my reference here just to make sure I've got everything working correctly. I think that's how it does it, right? Yeah, and there's this platform over here. It basically houses the legs. I'm going to see if I can move this even back further, like that. Something like this. All right. Yeah, I can use creases. I just haven't yet. I'm still kind of working really basic shapes right now. So yeah, I definitely will use creases as I get closer to getting the final shape. And are there good tutorials on ZBrush on hard surface? Why, yes, I have one. So if you go to, I wonder if I have that on Linktree. I don't. I should add it here. But if you go to Gnomon Workshop, and so if you go to the Gnomon Workshop, they have a bunch of different trainings here. And they do have a lot of hard surface trainings on ZBrush. So if you go to, sorry, I'm not logged in. But if you go to browse, you can browse by instructor, and you can find me over here, right here. And there we go. I've got a designing a piloted combat mech. So there is a whole tutorial on this. I basically start out in VR. What is going on here? They've got the wrong image gallery. I should notify them. But you start I start in VR and then develop this into fully fleshed out mech. You can watch that, and there are quite a few other tutorials on here on how to make mechs, and some of them use ZBrush, some of them use other tools. They just had a Blender one that was new, that was kind of neat, so that was more kit bashy. So yeah, there are different ways you can learn that. Of course, there's stuff on Gumroad, but it's kind of hard to find. The thing is, find an artist that you like, and then you can kind of follow along as to how they get the things that they make. All right, so this is definitely a lot thinner, right? And then so now let's pull out the legs. So I'm just basically going to go in here and insert an edge loop. The legs kind of start from around this area, so I'm just going to pull that out. If you hold Control, you basically just pull out a shape that's not connected. And I don't know, am I doing this in symmetry? No, I should do that. So let's mirror and weld it. That creates that line there, and then do this and pull that out. So these are going to be the legs, and then I'm just going to Q-mesh. Actually, I'm just going to move this in a bit. So here I want the legs to be separate from this piece, so I'm just going to separate them out. Let me do a quick save. Good thing is that, you know, when this is kind of low poly like this, quick saves take a very little bit of time. And you work a lot faster. You don't need a powerful computer to do this part, and there's a lot of advantages to sticking to low res. So here I'm going to split hidden into its own part, and now I've just got these as the legs, and then I'm just going to move these parts in a little bit. These are going to be the legs. They're going to start out this way. I'm going to rotate them. Q-mesh part out. Maybe to something like this. Let's go a little bit further. That looks good. And then I'll add an edge loop here and an edge loop here, like so. And now I'm just going to pull out the other leg. I'm going to do the exact same thing I did earlier, where I'm just going to do this. By the way, I can do this with Z-spheres too. There's different ways to do things in ZBrush. All of them are good. So I'm just going to select, oops, selecting the whole thing. All right, let's do this with the select lasso. Split hidden. So now this is its own thing. Move it to over here like this. Now, in the way they have it, it goes straight down. I might need to append another, well, let's do that now. I'm not happy with the way this doesn't have that right angle, so I'm just going to add a couple of cubes in its place and resize them. Right, so what's happening here is that it added the two cubes, but it added them kind of stuck to each other. So what I'm going to do is move these further apart if I can get my, here we go, and then do it. Okay, and then make them smaller, too, like that. Okay, so now I know that this horizontal is definitely 90 degrees. So I'm just going to minimize this, and this is the longest part that they have, so let's just do the same thing. I think I could probably put this over here. It's not much further than the back of it. All right, longer this way. That's good. And then for the bottom part, it's the same thing. So I'm just going to hold Control down here and just duplicate this. And they have a piece like this. And again, I'm just going to duplicate this one more time to get the foot. And again, none of these are going to be the final pieces, but I'm just doing this to kind of get an idea of the look. All right, so what I'm going to do here is just for my proportion's sake and also for getting things to look good, I'm going to go ahead and image. Select this image. I'm just going to export this image and bring it into ZBrush, which is the schematic. So I'm just going to go ahead and one more time. Sorry, I'm doing this off screen. Images, export selected images. Let's just put it in the reference folder for this thing. Here we go. By the way, we might have spent a long time on this, but it's kind of one of those things where, and then here, let's go to texture, import. Uh, but it gets me in the mindset of working on this thing. It helps me observe the model more and helps me kind of get in tune with maybe exploring some new ideas. Okay, so here, let me do this too. Let me make this a bit dimmer. Like that. So if we look at proportions here, I can already see that the legs need to be moved out. So let's just do that. Move them out this way. So again, I'm not creating exactly the same thing, but I want to be within the same kind of proportions at least, so that if they do use it in a movie or something like that, that it has kind of similar size to what we had earlier. All right, so I'm kind of, this piece is way lower. See, this is kind of why it's useful to do this thing, right? This is way lower, and this leg, which I luckily still have as a separate piece, is down here and rotated at this angle. Okay, so now I have a pretty good kind of more or less idea of where everything is and what it is. So I've got the block out of it done more or less. And I can see here that even in their orthos, there are certain things that are not matching. Like the legs look like they fit here, but if I turn it this way and put it over here, then it is kind of not the same size, which is fine. All right, so that's a good thing to do just to kind of get some good ideas. Of course, I'm going to be changing the crap out of this as I move forward, but I also want to make sure that I at least start with something that has more or less the same proportions and general shape as what I am trying to mimic, right? Because we don't want to introduce something completely new. We just want to take what's there and build a newer, kind of more exciting version of it. Not that that's possible, but I'm going to give it a try. Okay, Bad Cat, you're asking that you are going to buy a new PC. How much memory do you need? Um, you know, I'll tell you what the minimum is, and then you can move up from there as your budget allows. I would say at least get 32 gigs of RAM, right? At least that much. And if you can do more, then yeah, then do more. So 32 would be a base to start with. You can go to 64, and that makes it a little bit more comfortable. But if you have a lot of programs open, like I do, you might want to go even further on it. And do I still recommend the Space Mouse? Absolutely. I was using it yesterday in a scene because I think bar none. I mean, I don't use it just to. I don't use it like to navigate because I'm too used to using the mouse and keyboard. But I definitely do use it to refine a scene. And I don't think there's any other way of doing it. With a mouse and keyboard, it's kind of tough. But with the Space Mouse, I can't live without it for kind of fleshing out a scene, like, you know, moving things around and getting a good perspective and angle on a final render, things like that. All right, one last time here. Let's kind of get our bearings. I think the legs could move out just a little bit more. I'll do that. All right, so that's kind of going to be our base skeleton that we're going to start with. And again, I could have done this with Z-spheres. There's a technique that I use with Z-spheres to do it. Yeah, but I just decided to do it this way. Again, it's just arriving at this shape is the hard part. This might be not as entertaining to watch what I'm doing, but it's definitely part of the process. And I think it's definitely good to kind of do and show people, because I get asked, like, how do you get to these things? So Bad Cat, I know you're saying you're building a PC, but I just want to mention that this Dell that I have is pretty good. I'm very happy with it. Especially since, like, if I have any problems or whatever, I just their support is really, really good. It used to be good, and it's still just as good as it was back in the day. So it saves me a lot of time in configuring and making sure everything's working. Then I can spend more time in ZBrush. So I would highly recommend it. All right, I think that's good, mostly for the starting part. So now I'm just going to start um, kind of going the other direction with this top part. I think this is the main part we need to focus on. So I'm just going to solo it out. And now that I have the basic shape down, I'm going to duplicate it. And this is a good time to start a builders folder. Folder. That's where I will just have these pieces as I go on to go back to them if I need to. All right, so now I'm going to look at here and see this edge loop I don't need. Get rid of it. And these edge loops that I put in just to kind of hold the shape, I don't need them right now because I'm going to be making some more kind of general changes. So this is basically the starting point. I should duplicate that. And this is low res geometry, so if I have duplicates of it, it's not going to really make the size of my project be bigger. And I can always go back to these pieces if I need them. So here was that original piece that we did. So I don't really need it here. Okay, so now I got to figure out the shape of this. So basically this is kind of flat like this, and in the model itself, this back part comes out like a human head. So I'm going to do that. Let's see if I can do it this way. I'm going to mask, oops, that center part. And just go out this way, right? So doing that introduces some issues with things not being coplanar. For example, here, this is no longer coplanar, right? You can see that it's kind of doing this weird thing. So I need to address that. And the way I usually do it is with an edge loop. So I'm just going to go in here and do the slice mesh. And this doesn't work symmetrically, so I need to, well, did it? No. Yeah, I need to do it on both sides. And I'm going to turn symmetry off for this and do that. Okay, so now this added a crease. So if I go down here, you can see that this is creased. I don't want it to be creased, so I'm going to I can either uncrease them individually, or I can just go in here under crease and say uncrease all, because I don't need any creases at this point. It's too early in the game. I've introduced a triangle, a couple of triangles, but that's fine because I'll reinforce them later. Right, so this is kind of more of the shape that this is going to have. Somehow in what I was doing, I got rid of this top part, which I need to re-add. So to do that, I will need to add an edge loop over here, which makes this into a quad, which is kind of cool. And then I'm going to add another one over here, if I can. Well, no, I guess not. Well, this is actually quad 2 because there's a point over there in the back. So we're good. And then I'm just going to mask this part and move it up. What happened up here? It's weird. Okay, uncrease all. And when I added this edge loop, like it just did all these wonky things. Why is that? Oh, I know why. All right, I'll add that before. I move these parts out. Okay, so we're just going to do this part again. There we go. And then we just have to fix this. Whoa, what the heck? All right, I'm going to do this this way. Here we go. That does it. And then this part I need to lift up. All right. And we can see that there's some weird stuff happening with things not being coplanar over here, but that's easily fixed. Again, I'm working with very low res, so I can make big sweeping changes very easily. I don't know if you guys know, but move is pretty nice for points here. So I just click on this, move point. Not move, but transpose is what I'm going to say. Here. Click on that. That's just going to move that point out. Do the same thing here. All right, so this is kind of what I'm getting. This point needs to move out as well. All right, so now I'm kind of getting more of that shape established. Now here's that area where I need to do that fixing of the geometry so I can get that angle. So I'll do that now. So I'm going to do the stitch, turn off symmetry. There's that. Wait, not stitch, but slice. So slice there. right, and I'm going to uncrease all. By the way, every time I do this adding of triangles, that basically hinders my ability to do some of the things I want to do. So I'm going to try and get this thing back into a quad shape. And to do that, I can insert an edge loop here. Like so, which is basically going to go and land it all the way back there, but I don't want it to do that. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a quick quad modeling here, just by stitching these together. This kind of stuff happens I used to do in Maya, and I don't need to do that anymore. Okay, so this is good. Now I like how this side is, but I don't want to kind of spend the time to do that on this side, so I'm just going to mirror and weld this thing. Hopefully it's the right angle. Never is. But let's see. Nope, of course not. Mirror, mirror, and weld. Okay, so now we got what we want. So now I've got this as a quad over here. Activate symmetry. All right, so now it's all quads, so modeling will go a little bit better, but I've definitely introduced an area here where I can't add an edge loop this way, which is fine. So see, like if I add an edge loop now, it's going to go back there, but that's fine. I'll add another one here. It's also going to go back there. The good news is it's making this kind of thing a little bit smaller. And I can, if I was a stickler, stitch this. Let's try to see if that works. Yeah, no, that introduced some unwanted shapes. Okay, let's just kind of keep it at that. What I can do though is I can definitely move this over. So I'm going to slide this. There. And I mean, this is not really a preferred kind of geometric shape, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm just going to kind of continue on. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, space mass is actually pretty helpful. And some people, it's very helpful to some people because they use it to navigate. Here I'm taking some liberties of making certain things longer. Just to add a more menacing shape. All right, so this base shape is good. Let's see what the rest of it looks like all together. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to take a 1 second break here. I'll be right back. I just need to go get the actual model that I have and take a look at something on the back because I don't have a picture of anything on the back over here. I guess I could look at this one. No, it doesn't show the back. So I guess the way people get in and out of this thing is through this hatch on top. I should just bring this up. So this is from a Dorling Kindersley book. I have these, they're really good. So yeah, so this is where they go in and out of. So there's nothing in the back, which is kind of stupid. I would put a hatch in the back of this thing, but that's kind of where maybe the power is on it. So that's fine. All right. Yeah, I was just wondering. I guess I don't need to go get the model because I was wondering if there was a hatch in the back. And since there isn't, I can just move forward with that. All right. Just going to add an edge loop here. Adding these edge loops kind of allows me to, kind of look at these planes. Now, one of the things I can do here is I can go to dynamic subdiv and use, just to see if I get the shape that I want, use Q or what's it called? um, QGrid just to see if I can get, what I want out of that shape. I'm going to turn off polyframe. See, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about where you get these weird anomalies happening when you have geometry like the way I have it. So I'll probably fix that. I'll probably redo that geometry. I might do it here, or I might do it in outside. I don't know yet. Okay, so this is looking good. I think something more like this. And then also, I don't know if I need these back parts here, so I'm going to do something to reduce that footprint. So I'm just going to insert an edge loop over here, like that, and push these in. I'm going to cut this edge loop, delete this edge loop, push this in, like that. How about this one too? This is just an experiment. I'm going to see what happens if I get rid of that. No, I kind of like it. This is good. I like that. And another thing I'm going to try here is I'm going to slide this in. Looking good, but I want these to be further in. So a lot of what I'm doing right now is design work, where there's a lot of trial and error and just trying to get some sort of a look established that I like. And by the way, constrain usually kind of gets rid of, you know, like this little mess up over here. Is this the same on both sides? There seems to be like some weird thing going on with this one side, and it's not on the other. So let me do a mirror and weld again. And hopefully the right side. No. Yeah, this is so weird. Like you guys see this little thing here that's happening like this. And if I go to the other side, it's up here for some reason. So, um, yeah, it's because of this triangle over here that's causing the problem. But again, like I said, it's an easy thing to fix. I just need to get edge loops flowing this way. And I'll do that. I'll just take this out into a Blender or Maya and do it in there. But I basically, what I'm getting right now is exactly what I want, which is this shape. And how are we doing on time? Okay, we're doing good. Okay, so now I'm going to try, now that I have this, I'm going to try some other things again. And I'm just basically working on silhouette. Right now, the silhouette is really boring. So let's kind of add some interest to it. So here I'm going to try and play around with the legs a little bit, see what I can do. Let's bring the shape back. Like what if I had the legs kind of doing this? So again, this is just, it kind of, when it's holding steady, it's like that. But what if these were angled a little bit? That's definitely a more interesting silhouette. And what if I'm going to do a mask island here. If these bottom parts did that. So that kind of creates a little bit more balance. Again, let's just bring up the silhouette here. Keeps this pretty much the same, but it introduces an interesting kind of balance to that. Okay, so for the final ones of these, I'm actually going to create a stage for these pieces. And what I'm going to do is use a stager to model them in the middle and then move them to their locations. I'm hoping to get this done pretty fast. I'm probably going to be working on this a little bit off screen, just kind of correcting these and getting them to what I want them to be. And then once I'm done with that, I will, I will kind of continue and do the detailing next time. Again, this shouldn't take too long um, to do. All right, so now that we've got this kind of general shape down, I'm going to go back into the orthos and see if I've strayed way too far from it. Or if again, if I'm just still kind of being in the same ballpark. I think this is good. And generally this is good as well. So I'm pretty happy with the dimensions. I've got a little bit of overage in certain areas, but I kind of like the general shape of it. So I'm just going to allow myself to have the luxury of having those. Okay, so now I've basically got the basics of this down. Let's kind of start thinking about, so there's going to be a hatch. I could have a cockpit for it inside that I can do a cutout of, but I don't think I have time to do it, so I'm not going to use that piece that I had before. And let's see if I can do anything with this piece over here. And again, when I do my models, I start in different ways with mechs. This is one way of doing it, the way I did this, which I started with some existing shapes, and then took it further. And for this one, I'm thinking maybe adding something like this might be interesting on top, like some sort of a radar installation or something like that. Um, let's add this back. Now I kind of have a use for it. Um, I mean, since it's a scout, it should have some scouting things on it, right? So maybe this is a different version of the ATST where it goes out and looks for enemies and has like some weird radar installation on top of it. All right, that looks good. I don't need some parts here. I'm just going to see if I can Q mesh them away. Um, all right, worked. This thing's not symmetrical. Wow. Mirrored weld. Okay. Of course, it's always the other side. Out. And while I'm at it, let me get rid of this part right here. And now I just need to delete islands, delete this one, this one. All right. Yeah, maybe this one, it's kind of looking funky. I don't know. Sounded like a good idea, but the more I play with it, maybe it's too big. can't help but think it's looking like a little bow on top. So again, doing some experiments with shapes. Sometimes I gotta turn things up around. See if that works. That's looking promising. Nope, I don't think this is going to work. So that's a bit of an experimentation that went wrong. But I kind of like this little tailpiece over here. So maybe it's kind of more of a modern radar like this. Something like that. Kind of changes the silhouette of it a bit, but adds a little mini-me on top of it. All right. I'm just kind of removing those things just to see. Okay, so that looks good. And then, excuse me, the other thing that it has these like gun things on the sides. So let's go ahead and add those. There's one other piece here. Do I need it? Kind of going with the antlers kind of thing, revisiting the radar thing here. With this other piece, let's see if it can help. Maybe it has this thing and it opens up. Let's just leave it there for now. Okay. This is looking good. So let's go ahead and work on those discs on the side. So I'm just going to append here a Polymesh 3D. And I'm going to initialize it with my brush to a cylinder, maybe something like this. Let's unify this thing. So these are things that are on the side over here that basically have little guns and things coming out of them. So let's just add those there. Let's mirror mold this to the other side. So there's two of those. Like so. This is kind of one of those things where you need local symmetry for. So I'm going to turn that on. And I need it to be dynamic as well. Or not be dynamic, sorry. Just need to add thickness to it. There's that. And stuff sticks out of that one. While I'm at it, let me add the hatch too so I know where it is. So I'm just going to also insert another one of these guys and make it into a cylinder. Let's do one of these cylinders this time. Unify it. Maybe move it to over here. So basically this would be where the pilots would get in and out of it. Okay. And I think those are basically most of the parts that we need. Um, One other thing I want to do here is add some cylinders. So I'm just going to duplicate this one that I made. And just add these as kind of the joints. Weld. Oh, got a little somebody still on. Mirror and weld to the other side. And then have another copy. Okay, and one more. All right, so I just kind of know where these things are for this. Right, and then one more disc, a much bigger one of these guys. Right, so these would be kind of where it would bend from. And again, I have a method of doing these kinds of things very quickly with Z-spheres, but like I said, different times I work in different ways. I still haven't decided whether this thing on top is going to be there. I'm kind of liking it the more I use it, but maybe trying to see if it makes kind of sense with the entire shape of it. All right, so maybe this has a couple extra guns on it or something like that. We'll figure it out. Okay, so I think we're getting a good amount of stuff done here. So now let's just, I'm going to slide these in just a little bit, these edges. So slide. Like that. And there is a middle section here where the guns are. So I'll bring my reference in to show you. So the way it looks like it's got like this other cylinder here, and then the guns are protruding out of it. And these were the things I added on the side. Now we'll do all the doors and details later. I just want to get the general shape done. And I don't know if you guys realize it or not, but what I'm doing now is the most important part of what I do. Um, and a lot of people skimp on this initial part and then run into all sorts of trouble later on. So it's always good to get all the stuff established first. And then once you have it established, then you can just go ahead and modify the things that you need to modify. All right, I'm going to do the same thing again here. Just bring in a cylinder. We'll use one of these. And right now the scale of this is messed up, but once I bring a human in, I can fix the scale. All right, I see a question coming in. All right, Neon Shadow, awesome name there. Ah, very good question. So right now it's facing, so this is kind of, it's facing down. I don't want it, I want it to face this way, right? So the way you do that is, basically everything has got to rotate. So first thing you got to do is make sure that nothing is masked. So a good way to do that is just go into here with the gizmo and turn on the pizza boxes or this thing and move everything around. So it seems like everything is moving around. So then you move this to the bottom, right? And then you just find your orientation. So you want this to be the top. I'm just going to change the face down to here, and then just use this to rotate it the right way. There it is. And for good measure, I'm going to go ahead and unify the whole thing. So here's a nifty trick, not what it's meant for, but it works. So what I want to do is I want to get this whole shape to be in ZBrush's unified space. And to do that, I'm going to use a plugin called Transpose Master, which again is not what it's for, but it will work. And I'm going to T-pose mesh. So that basically is just going to create one of these guys. Now this thing here is everything that we had all in one. And I just thought of something here. I'm going to go back to this. I just noticed that we don't have all these visible, and we want all these to get resized as well. So I'm just going to turn every visibility of all these on. So everything is on, and we have everything. Notice here that this stuff kind of stayed, the orientation of it stayed bad. So the way I would do that, since you asked, this is also a good way to show you this. So now I'm going to do this again with the pizza boxes. However, I'm going to mask all this stuff. So the way to mask it is you just select and do this one more time. Oops, like this part. Right, so now all this is grayed out, and then I can just go in here and rotate this right side up and put it where it's supposed to go, which was about here. And the reason why I did that is because for the next step, I want this all to be unified. Right, so T-pose mesh again, takes everything over here. Right, so now I've got all this as one piece, and then I go to unify. So this basically gets unified in ZBrush's coordinate space. And then I just say T-pose to sub T, and it just sends everything back and resizes everything to that size. So this is just kind of a workaround to get everything to be unified. So now I know I'm within ZBrush's unified space. And the way I find out about that is I can add a bounding box in Scale Master. So here I'm just going to say add a bounding box to this. And basically it just adds a subtool that puts everything in it. So here if I turn transparency on, you can see, hang on a second, did I? When it resized everything, did it do a wonky job of it, or did I? It seems a lot thinner than it was, but I think, no, it's fine. It's fine. I forget that this shape is a thin shape. So here, let's just go to the bounding box here of it, and the bounding box should be within, if I go to geometry and size here, it should be within 2. So, so the X size is 2, the Y size is 2, which is the tallest part, and that works great. So I'm good. I don't need that bounding box anymore. I can get rid of it. And so now I'm where I need to be. I don't need to see these parts right here. So that's good as well. And I'll just go back to this. So this is, again, the part in here that is going to house the guns. So select that, put the gizmo on it, center, smaller, something like that. And over here, so that's where the guns are going to go. Something like that. All right, so we have that done. Again, all these are placeholders for them to get refined later on. think this is kind of a good starting point, so I'm just going to go ahead and save this. I could kind of get on to the next stages, but I want to do that after I fix some of the topology, specifically on this part. How much time do I have? Let's see. I have about 45 minutes, no, sorry, 15 minutes left, so I can do, I can try and do that here. So let's see if I can do this in ZBrush. So basically this flow over here of these polygons I need to change, and the way to do that would be I'm turn symmetry off for a minute. And I'm going to see if slice mesh could work. There's that. That basically changed the direction of this. And then if I get rid of this edge loop now, that's going to break something. Yeah, I'll do this in Maya. It's a lot easier to do it in Maya. It'll take me 2 minutes. You stitch these. Trying one other thing. Still not giving up here. Again, I like to stay in ZBrush for as long as I can. And again, I'm just worrying about one side. I can always mirror and weld it to the other. I'm trying to see if I can. One of the things I'm unique in is I worry about topology way more than many other artists do. And that's for good reason. It's because I think if you take care of your topology, then your modeling tasks go a lot easier and your sculpting later on becomes smoother. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Now, how can what if I spin this edge? Oh, this is the side I'm working on. Let me try this over here. So I'm basically doing two different variations of this to see which one would win over. This might work. No, it won't. All right, mirror and weld. Okay, so I've got this going on here, and then I got to figure out if I can rotate this. But to rotate it, I need a point over here. So I'm going to insert an edge here like that, and then I'm going to stitch these points, which brings me exactly to what I had before. How about these two? Nope, I'm going the other way. Here we go. This is a little bit more promising. I don't know how this angon is happening over here. Oh, it's not. There's a triangle there. All right. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff where I have a easier time just if I go Z it to Maya and just do it in Maya or Blender and just bring it back in. So Neon Shadow, hopefully that answers your question of how to get the orientation of the ATSD to work better. Now, the way that this would work is like this edge needs to spin. Let me try and do this. See if I can make this work somehow. Sometimes I do this just to kind of give myself a problem to solve. Okay, slice mesh, edge, edge, yep, and slice mesh, edge, edge. All right, and then I'm going to spin this. Not wanting to go the right way, here we go. And then spin this one. All right, let me just do a quick save here. I'm getting a little bit of what I want, but not exactly. But stitch these 2 points. So I'm getting what I want over here, but I got to deal with this mess over here, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Stitch. Right, and I just want to connect these two up and then get rid of all these other junk. So here I can just delete this edge, I think. Yep, and I just need to get this to flow this way. I wonder if this will work. I don't know. Let's try it. Spin, spin. I'm going to turn this off. Spin. Because there's no point over here, that's why. All right, let's just do it. Slice mesh, 1, 2. And then I can just delete these edges, delete, delete. I'm introducing some creases, but that's fine. And I got exactly what I wanted and did it all in ZBrush. So now I'm just going to do the uncrease all. I think I might have a shortcut for it. Do I? Yep, uncrease all. All right, so this left side is right. So let's just see if Mirror and Weld will do it in one shot. It did, and there we go. That fixed that issue that I was having over there. Did not even have to go outside of ZBrush. All right, now the only thing is I need these 4 to be coplanar, and the way to do that is I'm just going to go ahead and mask. Single poly and mask these 4. I'll do it for all these guys as well. And this one I just want to slide. Let's turn symmetry on. Let's get these aligned. Actually, I could probably just delete this edge loop completely. How about that? Okay, and then I just need these 3 to be coplanar. So mask, mask, mask. Oops. Invert the mask, and then put the gizmo where I want that to be, and figure out the orientation. So let's say from here to here, that's good. And then just, I think I need local symmetry for that. And just do this and move it into place. So now I know that they are coplanar. Slide this forward, slide this forward. Here we go. I love that I can do this kind of stuff in ZBrush. It's so cool. All right. Now the only other thing I have here is I've got this anomaly going on. So I probably, when I subdivide that, actually it works itself out nicely. All right, so this is looking very good for the hull. Now it's just a matter of detailing it and getting kind of some of the shapes that I want out of it. All right, so that actually got done a lot faster than I thought it would. And I think we've got kind of the beginnings of a ATST going on right here. And I think I'm just going to take a few last questions and at this point, and the next time we'll just flush this thing out into it being an ATSD. So this would be kind of the before picture. that we would have. Like that. That would be the before, and then let me just get a snag of this, and then we will have the after when it's done. All right, there we go. All right, now we have a saved copy of that, and I'm just going to do a quick save. And we're just going to stop there. So there's quite a few of you out there. If you have any questions about this or anything ZBrush, now is the time to ask. I'm happy to answer questions to the best of my ability. So last minute questions, I'll give you guys a few seconds. I think there's a little bit of a delay, so I'll just wait for it. Um, Diego, yeah, definitely. VR is really great for kind of fleshing out a shape. I mean, I did a bunch of them in a very short period of time, so it took me about 15 minutes each. And it's great because you're in the space with it, so you can kind of grow it out. You can kind of see it standing in front of you. You can kind of get the scale, the idea of, angles of where to look at it from. So if you're designing something from scratch, I definitely start in Oculus. Um, and pretty soon I load it into ZBrush and do it in there. And I've got the whole process in that tutorial. So when you watch it, you'll kind of get an idea of how I go about doing it. If I were doing it from scratch. I mean, in this case, we're doing something that's already done. So we're not really creating this thing from scratch, but we're basically just building a newer, kind of more modern version of it. All right, so it looks like there aren't too many questions. Again, I want to thank you all for watching and tuning in. I'm on again in a couple of Fridays, so let's see. I'm going to be on the 28th, and then the 5th is after May 4th. So I'm probably just going to try and do as much of it as I can and finish it up next week. So with that, I bid you all a good day or good night or midday or whatever time it is where you are. And thanks for tuning in. Happy ZBrushing.